Hi, I'm Heather and this is Kyle, and welcome to The Bookshelf. This month we're going to review a book by Noel Piper called Treasuring God and Our Traditions. Now this is a book that we both loved, and admittedly at first we thought it was just going to be a book about what kind of Christmas decorations to put up or a fun song to sing at Thanksgiving. But this book is much more than that, and we loved it for that reason. The whole point of the book is that we're constantly teaching our children. We're teaching them every single day and the traditions, if you will, that we do every day, like praying before a meal. And we're also teaching them on special days like Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving. And what we're teaching them is who God is and what He's done in our lives. And so at the beginning of this book, Noel lays a great foundation about how do we teach our children, why is it important to teach our children, and why are traditions so important. And some of the reasons were the repetition and the constancy of those traditions. Just every day your child is seeing you talk about God and who He is. So that's the very beginning of the book and the foundation she lays. And then the next part of the book, she gives some practical applications.
Yeah, and like Heather said, I was under the impression that this was going to be a lot more about the big occasions, those special holidays and stuff, and how do we share Christ in those, which would have been neat in itself. And Noel Piper does do that. She spends several chapters on some of those big holidays, but she spends the bulk of the book laying a theological foundation for why is God important? Why is God important for us as parents to pass on to our children? He is our greatest treasure, and of all things that I want to pass on to my kids, it should be a good foundation in knowing God and loving God and learning about God. And so she really challenges us in some really helpful ways on how we can do that. She's very practical, and I really appreciated that. Even if we decided not to do the exact things that she is suggesting, she gives us such detail about what it is that she does that we can kind of think about it and kind of reverse engineer it and apply that to our own particular circumstance in a way that we can do what it is that she is suggesting. And I found it to be a very challenging book, and Heather and I have already implemented some of those things in our lives and in ways that we can begin teaching Elena and sharing Christ with her.
Great. So just to highlight what we just said, a brief overview of the things that we really liked about the book. It was clear, it was very well written, it was engaging to read. I love to read stories, so I loved her practical applications and reading what they did in their family or how they taught their little boy about this, for example. So I really liked that. But I especially love that all those applications were rooted in Scripture and just in a solid foundation of who God is and what He's done in our lives. And another thing that I liked about the book was that she had a list of resources at the back and scattered throughout, even things like she had recipes in it, so that was fun to read. And then she had, like, here are some ideas for cassette tapes that we use to have our children listen to Scripture, or other articles or books that you could go to.
It was a very helpful resource in that way.
Yeah, it was, because it wasn't a very long book, so I liked that she kind of gave you some ways to branch out. So we like that. And actually some books that we have that we'd like to recommend to you, she did not recommend, but they're just something that we've been using. And they are the Truth and Grace books. And they're just a system of memory for your children, starting from ages 2 or 3 and then working through 12th grade. So obviously we haven't used all of them. We're just starting with our daughter Elena. She's a little over 18 months now. And they're filled with questions or verses, catechism questions for you to teach your children. So right now we're teaching Elena who made her. So we ask her a lot, who made you, Elena, or who made the flowers, or who made the animals?
Yes, and she's learning to respond God to those things. And so one day I was asking her, who made you, Elena? And she said God. And I said, that's right, God made you, and God made mommy, and God made daddy, and God made the animals and the plants. And a few minutes later, the conversation had kind of moved on, and the three of us walked into the kitchen, and Elena had all of her kitchen toys scattered around the kitchen, and Heather says, who made this mess? And Elena said, God. So it was really funny. We got a good laugh out of it, but it was cool to see she's totally applying what she's learning.
And a lot of that is just the repetition, which is what Noel Piper talks about, is the repetition of teaching your children. So we'll link to these. This is just something as a tangent to what we've been learning, and we're really excited to share this book with you and to apply it to our lives as well.
Yeah, it was a great book. We definitely recommend putting it on your bookshelf. And if you may have noticed that we don't actually have the book here to show you, and the reason for that is the Pipers have made this book available for free on their website on desiringgod.com. And they have a link to where you can download that PDF. And so we actually read the book as a PDF on our computer. And so that was kind of an interesting experience, and we enjoyed it. It was helpful, and so you can order the book, or you can even download it and start taking a look at it as a PDF online.